Hi, my name is Corel Costa Armas. You can find me at condodetective.com or corelcosta.com. I do these videos to help HOA members, homeowners, condos and regular homes, property owners associations, as some like to call it in different states. Try to give you some tips and some things to be aware of. One of the things that I mention in quite a few of my videos, I'm actually writing a book on it now. I'll let you know when that comes out. But is when you consider putting restrictions or spending limits on the board, right? So most of the complaints I get have to do with money. Oh my God, money is just flying. We're bleeding money. The board is going crazy spending. Well, sometimes that's true. And sometimes there's absolutely no restrictive procedures in place. And if you have a very old-fashioned board or a president that's been on forever, that person may be in the habit, and it's a bad habit, of spending freely whatever they want, whenever they want. And that's not really the standard for today, right? So let's go over just a few minor items for you to consider if you are going to consult with your attorney or your management company in introducing some of the spending limits and procedures, right? So number one is the president. The president of the board usually has executive power. Look at your governing documents. It'll spell those out where it should. And a lot of that power has to do with the ability to repair, maintain, and enhance the property. So the president is going to require some power to spend money. But you want to have a little bit of a limit on that so that they don't spend however much they want on whatever they want. So the first thing is consider the president may spend X amount of money, usually that's about $5,000, without the approval of another board member or the entire board. Okay, so think about that one right there. And this would be for repairs and things that are kind of coming up. And it excludes emergencies, okay? That's another item. But the next thing you want is step two, right? So let's say the president has a $5,000 limit, but there's a $6,000 expense. You want to consider step two, or the next restrictive step, to be any repairs between $5,001 and $10,000 will require the approval of two officers. So that can be the president and the treasurer, the president and the secretary, the president and the vice president. The president should always be involved because, again, that executive power, you don't want two officers just circumventing the president. So, again, and if you have such a bad problem with a president that you don't think he should be there or she should be there, you got another thing to handle there, and you'll probably want to take those steps. The third item is anything over the second limit, right? So you have 5,000 and then you have up to 10,000. And then the next thing you'll want to consider is, let's say, any expense for repair, enhancement, maintenance over $10,000 will require the approval of the whole board. Pretty simple, right? So you have one officer, two officers, and then the whole board. The next step is the manager. Now, if you look at your management contract, this may be in there, and it should be in there, and that is, what limit does the manager have to spend? Now, I gotta say this is a spending amount that's outside of the routine approved budget. Again, I'm trying to make a quick video, but this can get very, very deep into the details. So you'll want something like the manager may spend up to $500 without the board approval or the president's approval for routine maintenance, excluding emergencies. Now that's fire, flood, blood, remediation. You have a water main break. You better call your most trusted vendor to fix that water main break. And that might cost you $50,000. I don't know. But those situations do happen. And usually you'll have a system in place for that if you have good management. So also, if you're going to start putting restrictions and better procedures, consider multiple bids.